So every year Tilehurst has a theme, doesn't it, about turning Tilehurst red. Who knows what the theme is for this year in particular? Yeah? Yeah, it's about women in war, and we're going to be thinking about that as we go through the service. So the guides and brownies have got something they're going to talk to us about now.
Brownies and guides worked on the home front in both World Wars. In 1914, guides had only existed for 4 years, and brownies had only just started. They were called rosebuds instead of brownies. Rosebuds wore blue uniforms like the guides.
At the time, guides were still very unpopular. Wanting to hike and camp like boys was thought to be unladylike, and guides even had stones thrown at them if they were seen marching in the streets.
When the war broke out, brownies and guides worked hard to support the war effort at home. They collected scrap paper to recycle. Brownies rolled bandages, and guides worked in hospitals and made clothes for soldiers. They also raised money to build a rest hut in France for soldiers to have time to rest away from the fighting. Guides could earn a war service badge by doing 21 days of work towards the war effort or making 15 items of clothing. How people felt about guides and women in uniform changed entirely during World War I.
This year's Remembrance Badge is a picture of a guide named Olive. She celebrates the 50 guides who worked as confidential messengers at MI5 during World War I. They were responsible for carrying written messages at first, but they were found to be reliable enough to carry spoken messages too. They were also responsible for cleaning all the typewriters. This is the MI5 document that describes their work.
The guides at MI5 were so trusted that at the end of the war, they were taken to the peace conference at Versailles to act as messengers there.
In 1939, brownies and guides continued with war work, helping the evacuees, running nurseries and working in hospitals.
In London, guides were recruited to teach blitz cooking to Londoners who had been bombed out of their homes and also worked with rescue services.
They also raised money to buy ambulances and lifeboats.
One of the lifeboats, which cost £5,000 to build, was then used as one of the little ships rescuing soldiers from Dunkirk. In 1943, she was renamed Guide of Dunkirk.
The poem is taken from Vera Britton's memoir, which is called Testament of Youth, which many people have read or heard about. And it was dedicated to her fiancé, Roland Leighton, who was a British poet and a soldier who was killed in the Great War. And this poem is called Perhaps, 1916. Perhaps someday the sun will shine again, and I shall see that still the skies are blue, and feel once more I do not live in vain, although bereft of you. Perhaps the golden meadows at my feet will make the sunny hours of spring seem gay, and I shall find the white May blossom sweet, though you have passed away. Perhaps the summer woods will shimmer bright, and crimson roses once again be fair, and autumn harvest feels a rich delight, although you are not there. Perhaps someday I shall not shrink in pain to see the passing of the dying year and listen to Christmas songs again, although you cannot hear. But though kind time may joys renew, there is one greatest joy I shall not know again, because my heart for loss of you was broken long ago.
So, women in war. I've brought three things here that I got from the Ukrainian Centre in Reading when we went there. As you know, we've got a Ukrainian family living with us, and we went there and they had a stall. And we bought some things which the women had made and sent over here to raise money for their war effort. So I wonder whether you know what this is, and if you've been in Park Lane School, you just have to keep quiet a minute because I know you already know the answers to all these questions. If they don't know, you can put your hand up again in a minute. Does anybody know what that is? They don't know. Do you want to tell them? Yeah. That's right, well done. It's a trench candle, okay? So you may have read, if you've looked at any First World War literature, you may have read about soldiers having candles in the trenches in the First World War. So this is a long tradition of such things. And these have been made as decorative items by the women of Ukraine. The idea is that the light reminds you of home. It reminds you of the home fires burning. There was a song about that, wasn't there? And it reminds particularly the Ukrainians, because cooking is so important to them, it reminds them of the flame on the cooker and the meals that are going to be prepared for them when they come home. So that's the trench candle. Would somebody like to come and put it on the communion table for me? Come on then. Okay, that's fine. There you go. Right, and I've got two more things. You might not be surprised that I chose this one. What's that then? It's a horse, yes. This is one of the symbols of Ukraine, apparently. And what do we know about horses? Why might this be a symbol? Park Lane people can say if they remember. Why might this be? Yeah? Well done. Yeah, the strength of a horse and the gentleness, right? Horses are strong and gentle. And so this is to remind us of the spirit of those who are fighting for justice. I think this is supposed to be a Christmas tree decoration, so it's going to go on my tree. So would somebody else like to come and put this? Do you want to come then? Put this on the table with the other thing. There you go. And then I've got one more thing. Now, I'm just so glad that people can remember what I did in Assembly on Friday. This is wonderful. Right, but apart from that now then, who knows what this is? Because at Park Lane, we only had one person who could work out what this was, and that was a teacher, one teacher. Hey?
I'm just trying to let everyone...
Oh, right, sorry. Yes, I can't see what it looks like behind me. Can anyone see what it is? Go on then, you say. Yeah, so it's a bullet case, so it hasn't actually got any explosives in it, so you don't need to worry about that. It's a bullet case, and the idea of this is that something that is really horrible in war is going to be turned into beauty. So it's beautiful artwork, it's the colours of Ukraine and the poppies. And so this is to help us remember not only what's happening now and what's happened in the past, but also what we hope for, that there's nothing explosive anymore. It's just a beautiful work of art. So would somebody like to come and put it on the table for me? Go on then. I think you were first, Isabel. Because you anticipated what I was going to say. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to hear a gospel reading now, traditionally read on this day. We're going to hear from Matthew chapter 5.
As Helen said, the reading is taken from Matthew chapter 5, starting at verse 1 and finishing at verse 12, and I'm reading from the Good News Bible. The reading is called the Sermon on the Mount, and some people also know it as the Beatitudes. Jesus saw the crowds and went up a hill, where he sat down. His disciples gathered round him, and he began to teach them. Happy are those who know they are spiritually poor. The kingdom of heaven belongs to them. Happy are those who mourn. God will comfort them. Happy are those who are humble. They will receive what God has promised. Happy are those whose greatest desire is to do what God requires. God will fully satisfy them. Happy are those who are merciful to others. God will be merciful to them. Happy are the pure in heart. They will see God. Happy are those who work for peace. God will call them his children. Happy are those who are persecuted because they do what God requires. The kingdom of heaven belongs to them. Happy are you when people insult you and persecute you and tell all kinds of evil lies against you because you are my followers. Be happy and glad, for a great reward is kept for you in heaven. This is how the prophets who lived before you were persecuted. Thanks be to God for his word. Amen.